Was Arminius a traitor or a liberator who stood against imperial conquest? In the year 9 AD, the Roman Empire stood at the height of its power. Emperor Augustus had set his sights beyond the Rhine to turn Germania into a new Roman province. The task was entrusted to one man, Publius Quinctilius Varus, governor of Germania. A firm believer in law and order, he was an administrator more than a general. But he underestimated Germania. At his side stood a Germanic officer, Arminius, a Roman citizen of equestrian rank, educated in Roman customs and trained in Roman warfare. He had earned Varus's full confidence, but within him, resentment had been growing. Rome's ambition to dominate his homeland had planted the seeds of rebellion. In secret, he began uniting the Germanic tribes. The plan was calculated and precise. Arminius fed false information to the governor, a report of rebellion among northern tribes, and a suggestion to march through the Teutoburg Forest to suppress it. Varus accepted the report without question. 3 Roman legions set off, their columns winding deep into the forest. But the forest was more than difficult terrain. It was drenched in rain and fog, choked with mud and marshes. Cavalry could not maneuver. Formations could not be maintained. Somewhere in that silence, Germania was waiting. 3 Roman legions moved slowly through the damp Teutoburg Forest. Rain poured without end, and the ground turned to mud. The wagons stalled. The marching column broke apart. Formations crumbled. The soldiers slowed with each step. Cavalry was useless. There was no space to form defensive lines. Then it began. From both sides of the narrow path, spears rained down. Germanic warriors burst from behind the trees. The forest roared. Screams filled the air. The Romans had been completely caught off guard. In the chaos, command fell apart. Units became isolated. This was not a battle. It was a slaughter. 2 days passed, then 3. Still, the Romans could not escape the forest. Detachments lost contact. Supply lines were severed. The men grew weak. The Germanic tribes knew the land. They attacked from high ground, tight paths, and swampy clearings, pushing the Romans further into collapse. Eventually, the 19th Legion was wiped out. Then the 17th and 18th followed, cut down or scattered beyond recovery. Governor Varus, unable to break the encirclement, fell on his sword. It wasn't a battle, it was annihilation. 3 Roman legions vanished into the forest. News of the disaster in the Teutoburg Forest soon reached Rome. Emperor Augustus was devastated. The pride of the empire lay in ruins. In despair, Augustus struck the walls of his chamber and cried out, "Varus, give me back my legions!" His anguish echoed throughout the empire. The empire responded with both fury and fear. The emperor ordered the Rhine frontier fortified and entrusted vengeance to one man, Germanicus. He led a renewed Roman force back into the Teutoburg Forest, the very place where Rome had suffered its worst defeat. What he found there was haunting: shattered weapons and armor, rotting corpses, and signs that even the legionary eagles had fallen into enemy hands. Germanicus fought fiercely to reclaim Roman honor, winning battles, recovering lost standards, but never fully restoring what had been lost. Concerned about the growing cost of war, Emperor Tiberius recalled Germanicus from Germania. That land was no longer within Rome's grasp. The dream of conquest had ended. Teutoburg had become a symbol of the limits Rome could not cross. From that day forward, the Rhine would mark the edge of empire. This was not just a defeat. It was the moment Rome first recognized that even its power had a boundary. After crushing Rome in the Teutoburg Forest, Arminius rose as a hero across the Germanic world. But though the war had ended, peace never came. The tribal alliance he built began to fracture. Diverging interests and rivalries slowly eroded his authority. He achieved limited victories against Germanicus, but they were not decisive. Rome held firm south of the Rhine, and then came the deadliest threat of all, not from Rome, but from within. As Arminius expanded his influence through victory, his growing power began to alarm his allies. His leadership came to be seen not as unity, but domination. Eventually, he was assassinated, not by an enemy, but by his own kin. What they feared was not Rome, but a man who dared to rule above them. He was 38. The man who had destroyed 3 Roman legions fell within the alliance he had forged. After his death, Rome viewed him with a mix of fear and admiration. His name remained forever tied to the forest they could never conquer. In Roman histories, he was recorded as a traitor. In Germanic memory, he became a liberator who defied empire. His legacy was more than a victory. It was a question of how he would be remembered, and that too became a war of its own.